Good morning. Good morning. Worked better that time. Okay, you can take out your earplugs. So thank you for coming to this Sunday Dharma talk that's been going on for many, many years. I have a few people online and very few people here in the Zendo this morning. People are busy doing other things, which they should be. This morning's Dharma talk is titled Body Stories. Body Stories. About. It's always about awareness. So that topic or talk title, Body Stories, can go several directions, and I may take it in several, but I'm going to take it in one in particular. And you could even say that you're constantly getting stories from your body in terms of how you feel when something is hurt, when you have a headache, when you have a sore foot, when you have skin pain, as I do, and all of those things are going that direction. And then also when we practice shikantaza or zazen, this is something I've talked about a little bit in the past. I usually talk about this individually to people if they'll present themselves and even have any curiosity about their awareness practice. I've had many people, when I say many, not a lot, but a few that never, ever discuss their awareness practice with me. They never ask any questions about what is happening there. They do ask me intellectual questions, but they don't talk about what it is to sit still and watch what is moving in their mind. And I have a row of zabutons or cushions and zafus right along this wall. It's called the monk's wall. It's the south wall of the Zendo. And I've been able to watch for many, many years. I haven't counted them, but quite a few years, watch people meditate. That's deliberate. I can also see people on the other wall, and I can see a little bit into the north gate, but people over there I'm not as concerned about because they have plenty to look at over there. So I'm not saying that I need to watch everybody and everybody has to come in front of me and meditate so I can analyze them or see what's up with them. But watching people's movement, as you understand, or possibly you understand, at least you've heard, I say sit still, hold still, but don't necessarily maintain the stillness, but always return to it. You can't return to something that you're not aware of. And if you just sit and continually fiddle with your fingers slightly, or move your finger across your knee if you're sitting in the resting the mind mudra, if you're sitting in the what is called cosmic mudra, like so, you can still kind of move your fingers a little bit there, rub your thumbs together, maybe even twiddle your thumbs. I've seen people meditate and actually twiddle their thumbs. You know what that is when you go like that. They do it very slowly, so you can't really be accused of it. If you said, twiddling your thumbs again, I see, they would go, oh no, I'm just readjusting. This one was tired being on top. And, you're going to get a story from everybody. What did I just say? Body stories, stories about everything. People would justify everything they do. If I point out someone's movement in Dokusan in an interview, they will tell me why they're doing that. Well, I had to, because, and again, it's not about right and wrong. It is about being aware of what's happening. You can sit and move your body from now until for a long time. And if you're aware of that, that is not disrupting your awareness, that aspect of awareness that is about seeing into your true nature, seeing into your fundamental nature. That's why I say you don't have to get rid of ego. You don't have to get rid of your confusion. You do not have to get rid of passion, aggression, and ignorance. You don't need to get rid of those. Some teachers teach differently. You can't see the truth unless you're no longer confined by passion, aggression, and ignorance. And I might agree with that to some extent, confined. But if you just see it, then it comes and goes. It doesn't belong to a person anymore. Even though there's a body here, there's no grasping at that as your problem or your victory. So by being able to watch people as they meditate, and you can watch me, I'm pretty obvious up here. I'm on a platform even, and it's only 3 inches tall, but it's still a platform. You can watch me move, and if you watch me move, you see I move all the time. If we do a 4 hour block sit, I'm doing this, I'm falling asleep, I'm adjusting, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm scratching my head. But contrary to what I was taught 100 years ago, or close to that, by Katagiri Roshi, sit still, don't move. And also was taught at the Detroit Zen Center, no moving, no moving, no sniffing. I mean, it's just amazing the parental attitude that teachers can have in the Buddha's in trying to convey the Buddha's Dharma, and all about controlling everything. And so there's going to be a little bit of control. You need to come in and sit down. You need to not run off to the ice cream shop. You need to come in here and sit down. Well, a lot of people go and bring you back some ice cream. So it's not about doing away with that completely, but it's about being aware of the amount of movement that happens. But if you're sitting like this and you're kind of pulling on one of your toes, or you're shrugging or doing whatever may happen, or tipping your head, some meditators, some people who practice meditation talk to themselves. And sometimes the only thing you'll see on their face as they're sitting is every now and then there's kind of a smile. There's nothing wrong with a smile. You can smile all you want, but you can kind of tell when there's a story going on in the mind. Not wrong, but you can kind of see there's kind of an assumption on my part, or possibly even a projection. Accuse me of anything if you like. But it looks like, from watching a particular person for years, that it looks like there's quite a bit of entertainment going on in that mind stream. It doesn't look like there's awareness of the grasping at entertainment, just like fundamental indulging in the entertainment. Is that true? I don't know for sure. But if the person's a student and I see movement outside, or movement that uh, seems to be, and as a teacher and having some experience, of course, I'm going to have a little bit of insight into this, but I'm not positive of it. But over time, that shows up as just of spending their time sitting, entertaining themselves, or distracting themselves into something that's more comfortable than just receiving whatever shows up. Is this true? I can't, I won't know that unless the student talks to me about it. Unless they say, this is what's happening. I seem to be doing this, I seem to be doing that. And then I can help them by either, and it could be an either here, either saying, that's fine, just continue to do that. It seems like, I might say, seems like there's enough awareness around what you're doing that's all that's important there. You don't need to contain that, stop that, or stop having uh, daydreams or planning to do things. Whereas another situation, a person might not even be aware they're daydreaming, might not be aware that their body is showing me as the teaching person. I have to go to my credential here. My student person is here and I'm watching them. I'm sitting here. I might be moving too, but I'm watching them. From knowing the person, from knowing how they handle the teaching, from knowing how they handle themselves, but knowing how they work with negativity, knowing how they work with positivity, they're a student of mine. So I've been watching them, some of them for many, many, many years. I really didn't have anybody to watch me for over 30 years. I had to do this by myself. The only person that really was able to really watch me and give me feedback that was helpful was my teacher, Coventino. And that took a long time to see what he was pointing at. But coming back to this, I'm observing the movement with someone, and it's It's basically telling me that there's some kind of I don't know if I call it a cover up, but some kind of a distraction happening with that rather than someone is actually aware of it. If you are doing a lot of pulling on your fingers or twiddling your thumbs, or if you're just a lot of shifting or body movement, little adjustments, there's nothing wrong with those. There's especially nothing wrong with them if you're just aware that you need to shift. If you have a sore back, you've heard me say many times, move, exaggerate it a little bit, really move, stretch out a little bit, and then what? Return to stillness. Return to stillness. Just return to the stillness and then, but not rigidly hang on to it. Just return to the stillness, return to the symmetry, return. At some point or points, or maybe there's no points, you won't do much moving. You'll just be still. And when there's stillness, there's silence. And all of the other descriptions that could apply to the six sense fields, including the mind. Be aware of the movement. I can take a question or I can continue to talk. I've got another direction to go a little bit, but you can come to that. Go ahead.
Yokabowing, what does our body show us about awareness, Mom?
Well, mind and body are not two different things. They're just functioning in a different frequency. Just like in the mind, there is no past and future, it's just conjecture. Through memory, we establish a past, not real. Through the mind, we project a future or imagine a future, not real. So that I can go a little further if you want, or you can ask another question. So the body looks like a separate, and it establishes itself in our consciousness as somebody going somewhere. Look at all I can do. Can you do this with your mind? 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 You can't, but you can do all that stuff with your body. You can do outlandish things with your body. We do it all the time, including up to completely murdering whole millions of people based on how you feel and on your hatred of others. That's not happening here, of course, but it can build into that. It can build into that kind of a horrible, horrible landslide. But the body mind are not two separate things. You have to look at the separation for quite a while until you see that every movement of the hand is a movement of the mind. Every movement of the mind is a movement of the hand. You notice that little nod at the end of that? Body, not body language. Like someone's doing this, that must mean that they're defensive, or that must mean that they're arrogant, or anytime you read what shows up for what it means, you're just participating in the confusion of the world. Do not conclude anything. Liberate yourself. You probably will not, there will be some people that will not like that. They're so attached to concepts. Even in the Buddhist Dharma, there are Buddhist practitioners, monks that will disagree with what I'm saying or doing. They're all over the place. I can name quite a few of them. I don't need to. You probably know some of them. They disagree with what I'm doing because their conceptual structure, framework, their judgment, their evaluation, their conclusion, it won't allow them to go beyond the concepts. Am I beyond the concepts? Nope. Why aren't I beyond the concept? There isn't anyone. There isn't anyone to go beyond anything. I'm looking at that, and this is quite aggravating to people. If I say I'm looking at it, and people don't want to look at it, they want to think about it and conclude really intense, complicated stories about the nature of ultimate reality relative to conventional truth. Samvriti Satya, Paramartha Satya, Kunzup and Dundam. I've studied all of those. I've been studying them for many, many years. All the teachings about those. I don't really remember all of them, but I certainly have plunged down into that way before I met any of you people. Notice I've said that, you people. So it isn't that I haven't done some of that. This doesn't give me a credential, but I'm just saying it's basically a sitting practice of meditation for many, many years that has allowed me to even put myself in a situation where I'm sitting on a little platform here and wearing a monk's suit and presuming to give a capital D Dharma talk. That's all I'm doing. And I'm asking you, suggesting to you, giving you permission if you need those kind of words to come and get me. If you think you understand reality in some way that is different than what I'm saying, maybe you're right. Convince me. Maybe I'll take off my rock suit and my robes and fall at your feet. More.
Milka bowing. Are there body language that act like phrase fillers? Bowing.
Good point. A phrase filler, just to go a little further, is when you say at the end of the sentence, know what I mean? Or what's the other one?
Nervous laugh.
Yeah, nervous laugh. That's a phrase filler. You say something, or you say something else, and you have a nervous laugh. You have a nervous laugh. You don't have one that I know of. Never heard one. Do you laugh? Don't lie to me.
I laugh.
Good. That's good. See how short that was? I laugh. And he didn't follow it with a laugh either. Is that wrong to follow it with a laugh? No. Be genuine. Be the nervous laugh, or be the phrase filler. If at the end of a phrase you say, I mean, this is a common one that it's used everywhere. I use it. News reporters use it. I mean. So Jim, what do you think about this and this? Well, that's another one. Well, start out with that. Have a little preamble. It has to be a word there, so to get you up to the edge of the roller coaster called language. So you have to say, well, I mean, look. People often say that. Well, look. And then they start to ramble on. It's quite hilarious. If your awareness is such that and I wouldn't call it even developed, is such that you do so much receiving that you don't miss anything. You sit in front of anybody that's talking, and if they're confused about their mind, it's going to come out in their expression, their body language, their sound of their voice, the tone of their voice, the shape of their words, their phrasing, their phrase fillers, which is the phrase makes sense, but the preamble in there that is perhaps even something like, well, this is something I do all the time in the middle of a Dharma talk, if you were to listen to any of them. Not that I'm recommending my Dharma talk. You might hear me say, what's the other one I'm always using? You have to use them quite a bit for them to show up. You can use them once in a while, and they won't create too many pages in an empty book.
Come on. So.
Oh, I do. This is one too. I do. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So I think sometimes we even start a Dharma talk that way, don't we? So
Yeah, that's the one. So.
So I've got a lot of bowing hands here, and I'm going to get to three of you. I'll get to all three of you that I'm seeing you there in just a moment. But let me make sure there aren't any more questions here. Anyone? Yes.
Okay. Bowing. I was thinking of more like suffix, and they tend to be negative, like big sighs, or they'll give you you'll say a whole line, and then all of a sudden you just kind of shrug your shoulders and let a big out breath, and sometimes it's vocalized.
That would be in that same area that we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question. Is that also, just a body?
Anything that's other than the content. This isn't to do away with someone's humor or someone's expression or all the other things that can show up there. And I'm going to emphasize what I've been emphasizing since I began functioning as someone that points at something. It's about the awareness. It's not about what's being pointed at. It's not about the thing. It's about the awareness of the what thing or things or language or phrases or expression or body language. And it's about the awareness of that. So if you're sitting and you're holding very, very still and you're doing it because you've been instructed, don't move, don't move, sit there, don't move, train your mind, or whatever they might be saying. And you're able to sit there for long periods of time with hardly any movement at all. That is not necessarily a success story. That particular body, by taking that part of the mind, it's commonly called the body, and holding it rigid in a kind of a military way, does not help. It creates the illusion of control. You have no control over anything. If you think you do, well, you're wrong. That's all there is to it. But you can also come and get me. You can come and talk to me about it. But if you come this direction, and you have a whole bandolier full of concepts and logic and phrases that you think are going to work, then maybe they will. Are there further questions in here? Are there further comments in here? You have something?
Hondo bowing, several things are arising. What about like when we're on the cushion and you are saying to hold still? It seems like movement is helping us see the identity. I mean, what are you pointing at when we see actual movement or a desire to move? If, I have an itch, I want to scratch that itch, or I don't want to scratch that itch. I can have that conversation.
So not scratching the itch or not moving because you're uncomfortable is commonly thought of as discipline, not giving in to impulse. I don't think that's true, but I didn't understand that the first decade I practiced, or the second decade I practiced, or the third decade I practiced, way before I met any of you. But it just started to show up after receiving teachings from Coben. And he didn't tell me that. He said anything, but something, and the but is also that I just used there. That's a phrase filler. But it's about being but. It's about being aware of that, not changing it. So that way, because that's the doorway. That's when the inner sanctum starts to open. That is a protection of ego, that secret hideout where ego is running everything from around the curtain. This is where what was the story, where there's someone behind the screen, the
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, yeah. Somebody back there pulling all the strings. Ego. Wonderful story, yes.
Hondo bowing, I guess that's what I want to understand, is that we can see the identity, it seems like, when we're on the cushion having that conversation about, do I scratch the itch or do I move or don't I move? It seems like we're having a chance to see the ego or the identity.
Yes.
Is that what you're pointing at when you say hold still, not be rigid, but hold still?
Take Buddhist, and I say if your head itches, which mine does right there, you can do that. In this Zendo, or under the guidance, I guess you'd say, of this person, I'm saying you should be able to be respectful of your body and what happens. The body is just more language, just like the mind, and it's talking to you. When I say it's talking to you, it's talking to itself, because there isn't anything separate. But then you would do it with awareness. So you may not do that every time. There might be times when you don't immediately go like kind of impulsively to it. You might notice it. You might wait, as I sometimes say, don't do anything unless you have to. Wait and see if you have to do that. And that discomfort may become really intense. If that knee just hurts too much, you don't stay there and hurt yourself. I know this from experience. I watched people sit in front of me, and I've heard this story before. I watched a person, I can still remember her name, Alakalo, sat in front of me in 1980 at the Vajradhatu Seminary in Lake Louise, Alberta province, and she's never moved. And this is long, long periods of sitting every day for months, never moved. I mean, some she would get up to leave, but she's just, and that was intimidating right in front of me. And I just kind of decided, if she can do that, then I can come close to that, or at least I should be trying. I didn't realize that she wasn't even trying. I talked to her later on. She was a retreat master at Carmen Choling. Years later, I said, I remember this was years ago. I remember when you used to sit there and I said, how did you manage to? She said, I don't know. I just sat there, didn't have any, got no credential out of it other than what I gave her. It was wow. So I sat and damaged my knees. I couldn't sit on a cushion for 3 years and had to use a cane. But was still young enough. When I say that, young enough, I was still, what was I, in my early 40s, young enough to actually heal up a little bit. So I do a little bit better. More.
On to buying another one that comes up for me is all of a sudden noticing that I'm in a different sitting position and I had no recollection.
So that's interesting. That's awareness, but it's also there's awareness that you didn't, that you blanked out, or you could use that term if you wanted to, that you just were so distracted into something else that didn't have enough shape or content to it to feel like a distraction. So that's very important. I've watched that happen with people, not because I'm such a genius or because I read minds. I don't have to. Body and mind are not two different things. If you know that, you just read bodies. And do you read the body? You don't really read it. It's just obvious. You know, if you don't need to be pointed out over and over and over again, the difference between an apple and a banana, it's obvious. But unless you know that, and you have some kind of a blindness to it, then yeah, I think this is the blunt banana, or maybe a simple image or something, but it's like that. That's why I say hold still, and a little bit of maintenance, but not much. No credential orientation to that maintenance. When you need to move, then move and do it very deliberately. Do rather than some kind of an impulsive move, and then return to the stillness. Return to stillness. Return. I think Katagiri Roshi, one of his, or maybe the only book, was called "Returning to Silence," which is another returning idea that he taught. James, go ahead.
James Bowen, how does holding still, giving up on moving, and physically being unable to move differ in terms of training?
Not sure I understand what it is you're asking or what you want to know. I know you've strung some words together there. I would have to come back and say, what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
The difference between a teacher that says, they say just hold still, and a teacher that says, they give up on moving, and then another teacher where, let's say you were just tied up to like a tree or
Well,
something.
what do you think I'm saying? Because I don't fall in any of those categories.
I'm trying to say what the difference is between it's. I was watching like a thing, a difference between being tempted and not having a temptation. The
So you
difference between what's the difference between someone being taught to hold? So
one is about control, and the other one is about control, and the third one you mentioned is about control. And I'm saying I'm about awareness. Awareness. Be aware. You cannot control anything. You do not have control. You do not have a say-so. You do not have a say-so about what you're saying, nor do I. I'm functioning out of what I'm looking at, and this sometimes really is irritating to people who are functioning out of what they think about. They can't imagine, my speculation, what it would be like to just not think about it. Pretty astonishing, because you always think, but if you think, you don't. Jijin.
Bowing. Do other teachers who teach in different way not see what you see?
No, they see it, but they don't know what it is. So they think up stuff about it. They may have a very clear insight into shunyata, emptiness, the emptiness of this and the fullness of that. They may have all kinds of concepts. Everything can come back to a recipe or a structure or a description. Anything that shows up in experience can be described. And I'm not against that. And some, there's one, hear me say, it's one of my favorites. I always go to, I'm going to write a book someday and I'm going to call it, no, I won't do that. So what I'm saying, a little bit more, and then you can return to your questioning style. I don't know what I was going to say, so go ahead. Go ahead, Jishi.
Sorry. Jishin bowing. So is it possible to see and still remain and operate through the concepts? Bowing.
Yes, it's just you're no longer manipulated or protected by a concept. The concept is yours to use. I have a concept that is, you hear all the time, awareness. Be aware. What arises in the mind stream is not as important. If it's a sound, a smell, a taste, a thought, a memory, those are all illusion. And you will not be able to prove that. There's no evidence for this. That's why the world, billions of people are caught up in the warfare of right and wrong, should be and shouldn't be. Even students, recent students of mine have all left because they think I'm unethical or not teaching properly, or who knows, you have to talk to them. And I'm sure they'd be happy to tell you all about it and describe what a terrible teacher this is. Been going on quite a bit. But it's not important to even look at that. That people are doing the best they can, even the people who are caught with their ideas, their opinions, their judgments. That might be the only protection they have to the fundamental reality that they do not exist. You do not exist. If you think you do, you'll continue to torture yourself and hurt others or trigger other people's suffering. There is no solid being anywhere. This is an illusion. If this sounds like baloney, then why even attend these talks? But if you think there's a possibility there might be something here that what this person is saying that might be supportive to you, you don't have to join my cult. I don't have one. You don't have to join anything. You don't have to do anything. But you might want to listen to what I'm saying. That's all I'm asking you to do is listen to what I'm saying and find out who you are. And you need to look at the wall, which is just like looking in here. You can do that. You can realize your true nature, and you don't even have to be a Buddhist. That's just a raft to help you get to the other shore. It's not the other shore. Further questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yudao.
Bowing. I'm not sure if you may have partly answered this.
Yes.
Can you tell when you watch us meditate whether we are aware of our movements or not?
Not particularly. I can get an idea if that combined with listening to you talk, watching how you present yourself in front of me. In your situation, you know the body language we talk about quite a bit. Do you mind sharing that? What would you say it was?
Eye movements.
Yes. There's not a lot. You don't do a lot, but your eye movement. Do you know which direction your eyes go when you're looking for how to think about something?
They go up to the left.
Okay. And what's up there that you're looking at?
God.
I thought there were canaries, a whole tree full of them. So it doesn't matter. Something is going to be there that gives you some kind of a structure that allows you to continue to talk in a relative or linear way about any given thing. And that protects your whole emotional dynamic that is tied up with, if you don't mind me talking about how we've been working on this for many years. It doesn't get rid of it. It prevents you from looking deeper. That doesn't mean you should not move your eyes and look straight ahead, or that doesn't mean somebody shouldn't twiddle their thumbs necessarily or move around. It means to be aware of that. Amazing. It's an astonishing understanding. And it's so often missed by those who might even be wearing robes saying, you need to hold still, you can't move, some kind of parental discipline or military approach to meditating. Yes, go ahead.
Bowing. So when you when you talk about discussing our awareness practice with you, you're
Yes.
not talking about necessarily the content of our thinking and what's
No,
coming up.
I don't care what you think about. I don't care what I think about it. It's always about the awareness, not so much about what arises in it, but by actually watching, observing what arises in awareness, whether it's a person's voice, or whether it's a sound of a bird outside the window, or whether it's an itch in your rib cage. Anything that arises is arising in awareness, and it's the awareness that is not located as a person. It has no location. You could say it's everywhere, but even that's a big lie, because there is no everywhere. There's just consciousness. It has no location. Realize it, please, before your body-mind complex goes back into the dirt. In other words, called death. Realize this. All you have to do is hear what I'm saying and then train your mind to see clearly yourself. You can do it. I will help you as much as you'll let me. Yes,
You're Dabang. I have an unrelated question.
good.
When you say people disagree with you or think you're doing something wrong,
Yes.
did you always agree with your teachers?
I still don't. I still don't agree with any of them. I don't agree. It's not about agreement. It's about what arises in the space of the mind, what arises, mind only, consciousness only, perception only. Whatever you perceive, that's it. You don't have to add on an impulse or add on a thought. And if you do, then that's one more thing that's arising in consciousness. You can just receive that.
Thank you.
Didn't agree. And I'm not, just to go a little further, I'm not asking anyone to agree with me about anything other than if you, any of the people I'm talking about here are people who at least have been committed meditators. So it's not like there's some kind of big disagreement going on, but there's something about this person that is this teaching person or this energy that comes from this person, especially the last several years, it was very difficult for people to be around. Would you say it that way? All of you in here? It's difficult? You have a difficult time? You have a difficult time?
Yeah.
You?
With you in particular?
No, with me in particular.
No.
It changes.
It changes. Yeah, it does with me too. Yes,
Same.
same. I'm not even going to ask all of you guys online. There's just too many of it, and I don't want that much negativity right now. So thanks. Okay, let's go to Deb. She's not had a question yet. Deb.
Yes, Deb Bowing. I have a question about a relative experience, not on the cushion, but making facial expressions that I'm not aware of.
Yes.
Somebody else concluding what that means and then coming back to me and saying, am I, for instance, sarcastically saying, am I boring you? Or what's that face all about?
Oh, my. How generous that person is.
And then, of course, I blame them for embarrassing me and shaming me.
Yeah.
Is that just my pride, my ego? And is that just another thing to be aware of?
Yes, and that's another, when I said you could go many directions, that's another direction that I have, well, if it depends. I have people who have a lot of facial expressions that I see and I watch them as they're talking. I have a bunch of them myself. Some of them are very deliberate. The facial expression is amazing. You can just scowl, you can deliberately scowl at somebody and be pretty convincing, at least I can. And so I have some people that I've given them feedback about how they do. One person, I don't know if let's see if he's here today. Yeah, Nishikai is here. It's not that what Nishikai is doing is wrong. It's just that when I say just be aware of I've never told him to correct anything. Just be aware of how your face moves at different times. He's not the only one. I'm just picking on him because he's here. So there's other people I could talk about that are not here, so I don't particularly want to do that. But there's something about that if you're aware of that, it does tend to slow down a little bit. but it doesn't need to go away. I'm not trying to erase your personality. Your personality, if you realize your true nature, your personality is going to come out like a clown right out of a circus tent. I'm not kidding you. You'll actually live your life. You'll be genuine. You'll no longer be afraid of your karma. You might yell at people that before you would have kept your mouth shut. You're not concerned about what people think of you anymore. And the reason, if you need a reason, there aren't any people. So everybody having their opinions about you, it's just like a lot of people in a play, in Shakespeare, blaming each other, even killing each other, hurting each other, turning into demons. It's just amazing. I'm laughing, I'm smiling, and I'm laughing about it is because it's so unreal, and people don't have to torture each other or themselves. We do not have to have this kind of chaos in the world. But as far as I know, the only way to work with it is each person needs to go within, see what this is, so that you see it yourself. You may refer to it as maybe as the Buddha's Dharma. You may refer to it, or you may use the Buddha's path, the Buddhist structure, a way of reaching a deep understanding of reality, or you may do it some other way. Maybe practicing some form of Advaita or Hinduism. Lots of ways of doing this, ways I'm sure I don't even know about.
Yeah, bowing. Thank
Yes.
you. One more thing. If I just lost my thought.
Oh, I'll find it for you. Okay, there it is. What
I'll
is
come back. Thank you.
it? Did it come back yet? Okay, well, when it does, go like this. Okay. Okay, let's see. Only other hands I see up are Jashin's. So I guess, Jashin, you're stuck with it. Go ahead.
Yishin bowing. I have a question related to Yudao's first question.
Yeah.
I'm doing exactly the same, which she described when I'm communicating through my mind. And my eyes are going to the left, upper left.
Yes.
And I'm also aware that if I am looking straight at someone, it's very difficult for me to express my thoughts. So I'm wondering, but I'm aware of it sometimes, probably not always, but sometimes I am. How being aware of it helps with the communication or conveying the message, thought, bowing.
So I can't leave what you're asking about for some kind of a conceptual answer that will be supportive to what you want to know. But I can say it this way, just be aware of it. Because if I have talk about several people, one person, their eyes move, like you say, yours and Yudao, and so other people might move their eyes or have another kind of shifting body language or tilt of the head. I tend to move my head this way sometime when I'm talking. You've noticed me. Everybody in here has noticed me doing that. I'm talking, I might go this, or go like that, go like this, or change. So it's about being aware of that. Sometimes I'm aware, sometimes I'm not. So coming back to the eye movement situation and trying to get closer to what you want to know, I'm going to go a little bit different area. I have students, one in particular, who all the time they look at me, they're talking to me, they're looking me right. Their eye contact is like 100%. They never distract. They never look away. They never look for a thought somewhere else. They look right at me and talk to me the whole time. Pretty unusual. Does not mean they're awake. Does not mean that they're aware, because this particular person operates through a different kind of dynamic called fixation. And it's intense, it's powerful. Doesn't make them a genius. It doesn't make them ignorant. It doesn't put them in any position. It's just another way of avoiding what is in front of you, fixation. So some other people, just recently had one in a student in the Zendo, who actually kind of apologized to me. I'm very sorry. I'm not good at eye contact. So every time this person would talk, they would look away from me. And then they would quite talkative and talk and talk and talk. And then when they were done talking, then they would look at me. But then if I started to talk, they might look away then too. Not particularly good at eye contact. It's not bad. You don't have to have good eye contact. You need to be, here I'm biased, or you need to just be aware of where your eyes are, of what you're looking at, what you're not looking at. And if you do distract you, just watch your eye movement go up there. That way awareness is accompanying the ignorance, if there is some ignorance, accompanying the passion, aggression, ignorance, if that's happening. So you're clear about that. It's about the clarity about the confusion, not getting rid of the confusion. Jen, what is that kitty's name again?
Vera
Vera.
Katz.
That's right. What was her last name?
Katz.
Vera
She's
Katz.
She's
Huh?
pro-Palestine. She's pro-Palestine.
Oh,
She's Jewish, like all my friends.
oh, good. Well, I'm not Jewish. I'm a friend of yours.
That's true.
Didn't mean to correct you. It's only about awareness. Okay. Is there a further question out there in Zoom land, or is there one in here? Yes.
Bowing question from John, Jon. You are a wonderful teacher. You teach me the wisdom to watch what comes up and keep practicing it. I wonder why the recent questioning of your approach continues to be such a narcissistic insult. Bowing.
I'm not sure why it continues. It's just confusion, comes and goes. Not going to go away. Sometimes it's easier for us to just have the confusion turn into a finger pointing rather than actually be responsible for your feelings. But so I'm not asking much of you, although I'm asking the world. Be responsible for your thoughts. No one dumps any crap into you, any negative emotions. I don't care if somebody comes and points a gun at you and shoots you in the arm. They don't kill you. It's not their fault. I'm not saying they didn't do that. I'm not saying you didn't get your arm shot, but it is not, you just perpetuate in the whole criminality of samsara by taking that person to court or locking them up or doing anything like that. Not that you should protect yourself from them, of course, but that person is trying to, whatever they're doing, they're trying to be happy themselves. They may have been through so much suffering that the way they express that is through hurting you, but it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It means that they're confused and they're suffering. First noble truth, they are suffering. They don't even know it. People who are really suffering don't know it because there is some success to suppressing or ignoring suffering by torturing others, by hitting others, by blaming others. This gets you out of it temporarily, but it all comes back from the body mind. Your only container is in this illusion is the apparent reality, apparent, another A word, that this is somehow protective. No, this is going down, but who you are can't go away. It has not appeared. That which has not appeared cannot leave. That which has appeared is called impermanence. It will change, go away, reshape itself. Yes.
Well, Bowing, it seems like that question was saying, why do you keep on bringing that up? What is the benefit of pointing out why people have left or that people have left?
That's what it sounds like the question was.
I don't think that was the question.
What do you think was the question?
It was just basically asking why are people leaving? How I
Okay.
understood it.
Okay. What was your understanding?
I'm distracted by
What was your understanding?
I didn't understand the part of the narcissistic part of the
Okay.
question.
Do you understand
It felt like a commentary on people leaving.
it? Okay. Did anyone on there really interesting to hear what people think he actually asked, because my take on what was asked and what other people's take was quite a bit different. So I think I need some help here. Okay, I'm not going to go to James because we don't have that much time, James. I'm going to go to you, Dow, and then I'll come back to James if there's time.
Okay.
You, Bowing. My understanding was the same as Ondo's, Bowing.
Oh, okay. Anybody else agree with Ondo? Okay.
I agree with Ondo, but I don't know what she said about it.
Okay, well, why would you disagree with Ondo? Yes, go ahead.
Michelle Bowing. By now, though, I'm only looking at my interpretation of what I thought he said because I forgot the question.
Well, why don't you read it again? We'll spend the last few minutes on that. I think it's an interesting, very interesting question.
Milka Bowing.
Especially starting out with a pacifying by complimenting me. That's a good way to get my attention. Really compliment me and say what a great teacher I am, and what else was it he or she?
John.
John, that's right.
John Bowing, you're a wonderful teacher.
Wonderful teacher. Let's start with that. Okay, go ahead.
You teach me the wisdom to watch what comes up and
Okay.
keep practicing it.
Okay.
I wonder why the recent questioning of your approach continues to be such a narcissistic insult. And actually,
Okay.
he did a further, so let me
Oh, good.
give you a little of that. John Bowing, it seems your feelings regarding the Dharma continue to reappear, and there appears somewhat of a cycle through which you are moving. Respectfully, John Bowing.
Very good. That's true. That's true. I've not gotten rid of my ego. Totally. Very insightful of you, John. Very unusual for someone to have that kind of perception. But you don't have to get rid of yours either. And if you try to clean up your act so you have no ego, so you have no narcissism, so you have nothing, you will not be able to help anybody, because you'll continue to help people based on right and wrong. I don't do that. And am I a narcissist? Completely. That's how I can teach. I couldn't teach if I'd somehow transcended my attachment to a personal self. You have to see that. You have to see it. Okay, James, this better be good. Make it simple. Make it a question. Make it something you want to know. Do not leave me on a circular situation around your very extensive um, what do I want to say? Acumen? That would be a fancy word. Acumen. Go ahead.
James Bowen. So, how how likely is it that Sokuzan could fly into a rage and order something like the Sangha to go on attack or something like that? I've been watching some anime where they just do a one episode ending like that, where the guy just goes crazy and is there any?
I had a crazy teacher. If I hadn't had a crazy teacher, I wouldn't even be alive today. My teacher, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, was wild and crazy. And he was an astonishing teacher, and I would not have been able to even appear here today if I weren't for him and for Kobuchino Roshi. So do you have a question?
Yeah, how likely would it be that you would find the need to cause a landslide to teach people crazy wisdom?
I'm still not. Can you simplify? Your words are a little bit garbled, but just give me a straight.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Is there any likelihood that you would violence for crazy wisdom?
I would.
No.
You would be perpetrate violence, maybe?
That I would perpetrate violence?
Yeah, or order like a cult leader.
Well, I've been accused of being a cult leader, but no one's showing me any proof or anything where you can say I'm making anybody do anything. People leave and I help them leave. They want to leave. I even say, go do something else if you need to. But if you're here and you want this kind of a teaching, my whole life is dedicated to this. It's not dedicated to having a bunch of followers. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not sure if you're asking me whether I could be violent. Well, probably not as violent as I was in 1959. I think some of that's gone by the wayside, but the violent energy is still there that brought me into this realm, that brought me, I think I started out in hell and now I'm in the human realm, which might as well be hell. And I'm probably going back to hell, or I'll go wherever I show up. If I even show up, maybe I won't show up. It doesn't matter. I'm not really concerned about what's next, because there isn't any such thing as next.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
all right.
All right.
Thanks. Oh,
Something else?
also one more thing. I think his question means, you know how if someone brings up something over and over again,
Yeah,
I think sour grapes kind of thing,
yeah.
narcissistic that way.
Yeah, I'm very sour grapes and narcissistic. It's just I'm disgusted with myself. After every Dharma talk, I sit around and think, I've done it again. I've returned all the sour grapes, and
Uh,
so let me ask you this, James. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Why would you even come and talk to this person? Why?
oh, I trust it. I believe in you.
You believe in me?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have been through this whole thing. A lot of people who have been here, been students of mine for many years. They're still here, and then there's other people who were here for many years and got upset and took everything personally and didn't realize that the things that were rising in their mind were just stuff arising. That doesn't make them
Yeah. I
doesn't
mean,
make them wrong. Doesn't make me right or wrong. Just all the right and wrong stuff is just extra. And
you're not a miracle worker. So what are they expecting? You
it's
know,
well, you're getting some big chuckles here in this room about that. Let's see. I want to see if Jen is smiling. Yeah, Jen's smiling. So Jen knows I'm not a miracle worker. Yes, I'm not a miracle worker, but I can help you in an amazing way that is not available very many places, and that is li just listen to what I'm saying and just train your mind. Find out what's right here, and don't look out here. Somebody can look out here, but this is the place to look. When you're all alone, when the internet shuts down because of the craziness in the world, and there isn't anything but you and maybe a building you're in, train your mind. You don't need a cell phone. But you do need to see what this is. If you need anything, you need to see what this is, because this is the only thing that's going to work for you when death comes without warning. And is that nihilism? Not really. It's just the truth. If everything's going to die, we're going to die. Maybe not this week, maybe not this year. But find out who you are so you know, so you will be function as being fearless. Let's close now. Thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your great humility.